All right, welcome back to the extended version here on the Mad Love Your Life show on YouTube. Hey, I want to say thank you also to all of you who have subscribed, who download, who listen. You guys have put in a lot of hours on the channel, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. So, as you continue to watch, please do continue to subscribe, like, share. If you're new here, just know we have so much goodness for you, and all of it is practical. It's going to be miraculous. And we're going to talk a little bit more about miracles today because my guest is Robin Duncan. She is a spiritual lecturer and author. She's an executive producer and the host of A Course in Miracles.tv. And we have been having such a great conversation around A Course in Miracles and around this season's topic, which is gratitude. If you didn't catch the show over on BBTV today, then just know that we covered a gratitude like journey and how forgiveness ties into gratitude and ways that we can cultivate gratitude when we're in our deepest, darkest times. And we're not going to stop this conversation because it's just so juicy and it's just so good. And I want us to just get present with gratitude. And Robin, I'd love to hear from you on, how do individuals celebrate the present moment through a practice of gratitude, and how do the insights from the course support this kind of celebration?
When your mind is preoccupied with what's going on, what's going wrong, a problem you need to solve, I think that one of the quickest ways to quiet your mind is to imagine a white blanket in the middle of your mind and try to leave your thoughts at the perimeter of that blanket, because if we can get to that present moment, we can actually hook into higher consciousness and we can receive the answers that we're looking for. We can feel that we are protected and insulated, and we can feel more confident. But because our mind is sometimes so preoccupied with everything that's going on around us, and compassion back to us because it's tough, right? But when we want to calm our mind, try to make room for the calm. You may not even feel that you can, but I would say there's a couple of ways. One is imagine a white blanket in the middle of your mind. Imagine going and just sitting in the middle of that white blanket and say, God, come to me. This is your time. I'm right here. Tell me whatever you would want to tell me. Instead of how to solve my problem, just listening without agenda, because the answers you will receive always solve those problems that you're dealing with, but sometimes they solve a few others at the same time. So when we're asking and listening, listen without agenda. That's what I call it. It's just listening. And what I was told in meditation is, if God gave you a recipe for lemon cake, that you write it down. It means listen from that kind of place, that you don't even know what your question is. So sit on that white blanket, ask for help, try to quiet your mind, leave your thoughts out on the perimeter. Another quick way that I like to clear my mind, I don't have to as much anymore, because after these practices, your mind doesn't load up as much. But you can imagine, just with your eyes closed, imagine a blackboard in front of you, and you could imagine all your thoughts kind of layering one over the other, like, oh, what about this bill that I have to pay? Or what about this relationship that's not healed? And how come my daughter hasn't called? And, all the fear thoughts that layer one over the other. So you see all that up on the blackboard. Go ahead and empty your mind, throw it all up there. And it's just this big mess, and everything's fighting for your attention. And then you pick up your eraser. And then you go in there and you erase the blackboard, lay that eraser down, and then sit back and invite your higher consciousness, your God intelligence. Say, you fill the board. You decide what goes on this board. And even the smallest effort in this direction invites your higher consciousness to intervene, to heal the part of your mind that is producing the challenges, the problems, the fear. And we have to make room for it. One of the four obstacles to peace in A Course in Miracles is that we must give peace a home. And we may not feel that we can, but even with those two simple techniques, you are indicating that you want to give peace a home, and that's enough. He tells us that higher consciousness, our God, intelligence, the Holy Spirit, all of this responds to our slightest invitation or call for help. And a lot of times we think,
Mm.
well, it's not responding. Where is it? It's, I've been checking my watch. Where and it's because we're still preoccupied with the world as we see it.
Mm.
We haven't made room for something to talk with us, speak to us. And I would also add that, sometimes we do not get answered in that moment. It doesn't mean you won't be answered. What you will find typically is that after you make room for God's voice in your mind, in your life, and then you go take a shower, or you blow dry your hair, or you go do the dishes, or do some laundry, do something really normal that you don't have to think about it much, you start getting answers. Or you get a little, almost like a tap on your shoulder or a nudge that says, why don't you do it this way? How about if you call that person? And you start to get instructions because you cleared your mind just enough so that these answers can start coming to you. You will know it's higher consciousness talking to you if it feels peaceful and compelling. And if you're not
Mm.
sure, ask again. You'll
Mm.
feel that same nudge. It will be consistent. If you're anxious and compelled, that's your lower mind, that's your ego. But if you're peaceful and compelled, you're going to start getting answers. Also, divine timing is very important. It could be that what you're asking about and trying to receive information about is not going to happen until tomorrow at 10:35 a.m. And so you don't know that. And so you have to make room always for divine timing, and know that this loving, gentle guidance that is trying to talk with you, help you, bring you those answers, it's always going to bring it to you in a way that you understand, in a way that you feel like you have been answered. And if you don't feel that yet, it's just not quite time. Everything hasn't been arranged just right yet. But I want you to begin to trust that when you make room for that higher intelligence, you will be answered. And I want you to expect an answer and
Mm.
then watch for it, but be patient and be excited.
Yes, yes, and yes. And I think maybe one addition to that is to, if we're really opening our ears, we're also not just listening for what we want to hear. Because I
Exactly.
think that happens so often, right? We get really specific about the outcome we're so sure is right for us. And that's not always how it works.
you
And
know, let's say that you are, really wanting a love relationship, and you've been on the dating sites and you've dated a few people and it didn't work out well, and you're feeling really defeated and upset and frustrated, like it will never happen. And you're already thinking, oh gosh, I'm going to live my life alone. Don't do that. Do not decide against yourself. But let's say that you put that white blanket in your mind. And now when you go listen, just like you said, we're not listening for where do I meet this person? Because you're going to miss the answer. What
mhm,
happens when we go to that space and we just listen without agenda? What you might hear, or maybe you're in the shower right after, and you get this very strong nudge to go to the market and to go ahead and get some grapes. You've been thinking about grapes. So you go to the market, you go get the grapes, and before you ever make it into the door, let's say that there's a car blocking you and you're kind of disoriented and you're trying to get into the parking spot, and this wonderful person steps out of the car, and they just happen to be very interesting and very attractive, and you're very drawn to who they are, and they give you their parking spot and they strike up a conversation and they invite you to go have some coffee. And what do you know, those
mm,
grapes brought you your
right.
answer. So we have to
Yeah.
listen without agenda, because
Yeah.
you may not pay attention to the little nudge to go to the market where
Mhm.
that person is.
Right. Right. Oh, that's so good, Robin. It's so funny because what you were saying was so like practical application for me because I'm in the world of dating, and one thing that I do that I feel like keeps me positive and keeps me open is every time that a relationship ends or I realize this isn't quite right, whatever, and I always do it kindly. I always end with gratitude, actually sharing, all the things that they did fantastically and also good luck. Like we're just
Ah,
not aligned. Um, and I go to my journal and I have a whole, it's a separate from my normal journal, and it's a whole section that is all notes to my lover. And it's me writing notes to my future lover who I have not met yet,
wonderful.
saying, "Hey, like I'm over here waiting for you. I wonder what you're doing today, and I thought you were this person, but you know what? You weren't, and that's okay. But here's what I loved about this person, and I hope that you have some of these attributes too." And like I play with that, and I have a really good fun time with it, and it's a good reminder for me because what I realize is I'm also very consciously and subconsciously writing down the things that I am hoping that a future partner will hold, the traits that they'll have, the person that they will be, the character that they'll show up in. And it's a good reminder because I read back through those every time I'm dating someone that I think I'm feeling the feels for, and I go, does this person embody this person that I'm really feel called to and drawn to, and like that's showing up for me in this way. And so it's such a good little like litmus test for me to go through and just make sure that I am aligned and that it's not just my hormones. And that's been really fun, and it's been such a good practice. And that's what comes up for me when I hear you sharing that piece. So good. It's just
You
so
know,
good.
when we really want something, I think there's another message that needs to be shared, is that when you are joyfully thinking about something you would really love to experience, I'd love for everyone to really raise the bar on how great that experience could be. A lot of times we would love to have a great situation, but we actually dumb it down in our mind. You know, we might think, well, I'd really like to move from an apartment to a small house, let's say, but we start to limit ourselves. We start to say, well, but I only have this much money, or it has to be only 2 mile radius from my work, or it has to be this, or it has to be that in order for me to feel happy about it. And try to let go of the details. And when you are praying for something or you're putting it in your God box and you're just saying, God, and what I want you to do is ask for a 10 out of a 10. God
Mm,
doesn't do sixes. If you want a
mm,
6 or a 7 or an 8, you might be saying, well, God, I'd really love to live in a house. And it's okay if it's like, at the end of a dark alley, or, like, I just want a house so bad, and it has to have a yard. But I want you to raise the bar. And when you write down your petition, you say, dear God, thank you in advance for the most amazing home that I could possibly
mm,
imagine. Thank you that I love living there. Thank you that, and add the attributes that are eternal. Like, thank you that I feel safe. Thank you that
mm,
I feel so happy there. Thank you that people come together in my home and they love each other's
mm,
company. Thank you that there's so much harmony there. Thank you that there's lots of space for everyone to feel comfortable. And it's just so beautiful. And I love being there. And I feel grateful every day that I'm there. So, God, thank you in advance for a 10 out of a 10. And I will not limit you. And I will not decide against you, even
mm.
with my little budget, or even with what I think I know. I'm going to
Yeah.
lay all that down, and I'm going to make room in my mind for what you would choose for me.
I love that. I love the 10 out of 10. I'm totally integrating that. The 10 out of 10 because God doesn't do sixes. I love that.
I
Oh,
have
I love
another
that so much.
miracle story. I have lots, so I don't want to
Let's
overload
No,
you. But
I want to
along
be
these lines,
overload me,
they always
Robin.
pop in my mind. My niece was living with us. She was attending Cal State Long Beach, my alma mater, actually.
Nice.
And while she was going to school there, she was starting to think about a job after graduation down in the San Diego area. And she really liked that area, but she really didn't have a job quite yet. And she didn't have a really big budget. And so she was already beginning to map out like a small, affordable, tiny situation. And I said, oh, no, 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 we're not doing this. I said, we need to pray about this, and we need to ask God where you would live. And I always ask people, my clients, my family, everybody, where would you love to live? And she said, well, I just love to live in a cottage. I'd love to live in maybe a home that's with another larger home. I'd feel safe and I could kind of figure out my way. And I just love to live in a cottage in a beautiful place in San Diego. I said, well, then that's what we have to put out there, right? So she does that and she starts reading different want ads and she finds a cottage and she's so excited. She reads it in the newspaper and without realizing it, she could afford $600 a month. So it wasn't much, in San Diego. And so she reads the ad and the ad says $600 a week, but she missed that because she's not from this area. She doesn't know
Ah,
how expensive it is. And it was for this cottage, $600 a week. Well, she misses that. She calls them anyway. And she's so excited. It says everything that she wanted it to be. She starts talking to this woman, and this woman is from Russia. And my niece's father is from Russia. And so this woman loves this. So she meets my niece. She's like so excited to talk to someone that knows about Russia. And the woman says, well, why don't you just come down and why don't you come visit? So she goes and she finds this cottage. And the woman rented it to her for $600 a month.
oh, that's
And she lived there. It was a
amazing.
beautiful neighborhood,
Wow.
so safe. Everything that she had laid out, that she had her heart set on, and she was just guided right through it. But you see, we might stop ourselves. Oh, that says 600 a week. I shouldn't call. Follow your gentle nudges. Be
Mm,
willing to step over the barriers. Be willing to
mm,
lay down the limitations. Be willing to just have fun with it. And
yes.
especially listen for that peaceful, compelling nudge that says, give her a call, talk to her a
Yeah.
little bit. And,
Yeah.
the woman was equally blessed because my niece is so precious. And so
Mm,
she had a companion, she had someone to talk to and to
mm,
think about Russia with and all of those things. And
mm,
so, I mean, it's just really important, whatever you're thinking about, even, holiday season or any time, take it up to a 10. God does tens. You're going to find that what you receive back will come easier and faster if you're asking for a 10. If you're
mm,
asking for a 6.5, what I find is your lower mind will respond. It's very good at 6.5s.
mm.
And so then it gets messed up, it gets delayed, it gets burdened. But if you're asking for a 10, now you're talking to the one that delivers tens.
Yeah. Yes and yes. Yes, yes, and yes. So good. So good. All right. Let's walk through, it's the end of the year. People are starting to think about the new year. They're reflecting on this old year. And the people are going to start having resolutions, Robin. They're going to start thinking about the future. So let's talk about you know, a vision for the future as we're celebrating gratitude. What is your vision for how even something like the teachings of A Course in Miracles can continue to inspire and elevate our collective consciousness in the future?
Well, what can I say? A Course in Miracles, I think if everybody in the world was to practice the principles just as a daily kind of thing, the greatest thing that it does is it helps people to understand the power of their thoughts and that what they are looking at can change. It can be miraculous because we are actually looking at projection instead of what we are really entitled to, what has already been given. And so what I really see is that our consciousness, our population, it's rising, it's waking up, it's becoming more awake and more aware. And it's happening like crazy. It's so wonderful. So I really see that, if I had a resolution, it's that I would call on myself to see and acknowledge the clarity, the awakened mind within every other person more and more
Mm,
every day.
mm,
Instead of asking for that, what I would want to do instead, as I have learned, is to find a place within me to acknowledge that in others. And so that's what we can do. If somebody is trying to do resolutions for themselves, I used to do that too. You write down all the wonderful things you'd like to do. And then, by January second week, you kind of forgot. And, but what we can do instead, what I would suggest is first make a list of everything that's not working in your life the way you'd like it to be. It can be as long as you wish. And look at those things one last time and turn those over in prayer and say, God, I'm done with this. I'm done with this story of myself. I call it the shabby story. I'm done with this shabby story of myself. I don't know how to fix it. I don't know what to do about it, but you do. That's our workaround, right? So will you decide for me about this list? And then take each one, because these are specific and unique to you only, right? Take each one of those that's not working, that isn't going well. And then I want you to flip those, just type in the flip, and I call it the ideal opposite. So let's say one thing that's not working is maybe I'm 30 pounds overweight. And I've been 30 pounds overweight forever, and it's just not leaving and it's just not going away. So write that down. Then we flip it to the ideal opposite. Ask yourself, what would I love for this to be? Well, it might be, I just like to be at my ideal weight. I'd like to be comfortable in my body. You could say, I'd like to lose 30 pounds, but try to take the limits off, because you might actually feel better at 20 or 40, or, God knows your ideal weight. So you could, when you flip it, ask yourself, what would I love for this to be? And then give it some context, like, I thank you, God, in advance that I would be at my ideal weight and I would feel so comfortable, so fit, so healthy. Show me how that's possible. So then go to the next one, go to the next one. And now you've got your list of resolutions in the exact areas where your ego has been really, getting a hold of your mind, and just your invitation for those things to change and to heal. Now you're invoking higher consciousness to help you and to actually finish that for you. So it's going to go much easier than it ever has. But if you try to do resolutions while you're still holding all of that stuff against yourself, it's almost like trying to fly with a cannonball on your foot. We have to address the cannonball, face the cannonball, cut it off, be done with it, at least the best you know how, and then ask for divine help in teaching you how to fly again. And now you've got an action packed combo for success.
I love that. Very practical, very applicable, and something that we can all lean into. Robin, you've been extraordinary. You really are an extraordinary channel. You're an extraordinary teacher. And it's been such a pleasure to interview you and have you come and share your energy and your wisdom with all of us here today. Thank you so much. Y'all, if you want to connect with Robin, and I highly recommend you do, she has her own show in addition to she's a coach and she's I mean, you guys got all the goods today. You got to sample what it would be like to have a regular stream of Robin in your life, and of course the teachings of A Course in Miracles. So please drop down into the show notes. You can find all of her contact information in there, and the ability to reach out. Robin, to you, happy holidays. I wish you a magical 2025, and I'm believing with you that we'll all collectively, continue to be so in gratitude for all that we have, all that we've been given, and all that we're about to receive.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much, Mary. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you. All right, y'all. We'll see you next time.